What I'm about to say to you might sound very, very crazy, but it is what it is. God is about to start showing who is who. And the way he's going to show who is who is you're going to have to be able to hear and speak his language. And I'm talking about tongues and interpretation of tongues. You know, the gift that many of us run from. We want every other gift, but we want the gift of tongues. But we want to speak in our heavenly language in order to pray. But we don't want to speak in tongues so that people can interpret and understand what is being said. Many people run from the tongues. But not only do they run from the tongues, sometimes you sit and you can understand what's being said, but you're not bold enough to stand up and say that you understand because you're afraid that you're going to misquote something that God is saying because you may feel like you're maybe not worthy, or you know you're not in a right place to interpret the tongues without adding or taking anything from it. But the way God is moving, and one of the things that God showed me, first he showed me the Tower of Babel. And I'm like, why are you showing me the Tower of Babel? But I understood, like, the people were building things because everybody was speaking the same language. And even when it comes to the fivefold ministry, there are many false that are building, there are many true that are building, but we're all building this thing, and it's getting higher and it's stacking up. But the language is about to be confounded, and those who do not belong, those who do not are not true, are not going to be able to understand, even though they speak their own language. They're not going to be able to understand the language that is the language of God. How do I know this is going to happen? Because God then showed me Jesus, the parable, speaking to the disciples in parables. And when he spoke, the only people who understood what it was that he was speaking were the people that he was speaking to at the time, mostly the apostles. So the Pharisees, the Sadducees, the scribes, and any of the other Jewish leaders, they were around and things of that nature. And Jesus was speaking, but they could not understand and comprehend what Jesus was saying because Jesus wasn't speaking their language. He was speaking the language that his children, his people, those who were drawn to him understood and were able to understand. So what God is doing, remember back in the day when we used to have our own little language, Pig Latin? And now that you think about it now, it's like common sense, like you know what's being said in Pig Latin. But back then, if you spoke Pig Latin, you could talk about somebody right in their face, and they had no idea what you was talking about because they didn't understand Pig Latin. And they didn't see how simple Pig Latin was, so they, couldn't comprehend. But it's going to be the same way because there are sleeper spies and there are things that are in position to try to infiltrate and stop the move of God and what God is doing and how God is positioning and putting things into place and things of that nature. And people in high places, they put people into position that can understand and that can comprehend and that can report back and, monitoring spirits and things of that nature. But when you speak in the heavenly language, nobody can interpret what God is saying but God. And God being God and God speaking through his people, you have to be plugged in, tuned in, true, walking, real in what you say, what you're called to, and who you say you be, in order to hear what the Spirit of the Lord is saying and understand and have the inside knowledge and the inside wisdom and hear and discern what God is saying, what the next move is, what the direction is, what is the next step to take, what to build, what to get out of, what to, plant, what to root up, whatever you need to do. You're going to get that from God, but you're not going to get it in plain English where everybody can understand what's being said. And even if God is speaking to you in a parable, because it's something that he said to me that I still haven't really figured out what he said, but I'm going to share because I feel led to share with you what it is that he said to me when he gave me this message. He said, if I have an egg and I take the egg and I hit the egg to crack the egg, but the egg don't crack. If the egg don't crack, did the egg not crack because the egg was strong enough not to crack? Or did the egg not crack because I didn't have the power to crack the egg? Now, whatever that means is a parable to the show how God is going to begin to speak that are going to confound some people. Because there going to be people who comment on this post and they don't have a word, any type of intuition, perception of anything that is even being said, but going to take it fully out of context or misinterpret what it is that God is saying. And there are many of us who, when we hear what God is saying, we want to fix it and translate it and interpret it where God is saying, he who have an ear will hear. So the thing we have to do is stop cleaning up so everybody can hear what's being said. There are some things that are a mystery, but people don't want to work hard for it. There are some things that are secret that people don't want to dig into. And I'm not going into narcissism and all of that other stuff. But what I am saying to you is, what God is speaking and how God is speaking, we need to be in position, in place. Be for real. Be about the Father's business, because there are things that are coming. We are going to need to not only know his voice, my sheep know my voice, but we are going to have to be able to interpret and comprehend what God is saying. And this is another reason why I'm about to press this button once again and say to you, pay attention to your dreams. Pray and ask God to give you interpretation of dreams. Ask the Holy Spirit in you to reveal to you what God is saying. Because there are times that are coming that you may not even be able to get to somebody else. If all of the circuits black out, and you don't have no internet to be able to get online and find out what God is saying to you, because you want to Google or you want to get to the prophet online in order to interpret what it is that God is saying to you, instead of you going into your secret place or into your closet and hearing from God for yourself and understanding what it is that God is saying to you. Many of us, we're too reliant on people. The communication may not always be. People of languages are going to be confounded. And the people who you are trusting and waiting on to give you what it is that God can give you for yourself, you're not going to be connected to these people. And you need to know that if you hear somebody speaking over the radio or over a loudspeaker or whatever, and they're speaking in the language that God is speaking, but everybody can't comprehend it, it's God speaking so that you know what it is that you need to do in a secret code, in a secret language, or whatever needs to be done, so that the leaders of the day don't get a hold to what it is that God is doing in you, through you, with you, prospering you, and things of that nature. They come to steal, kill, destroy, and snatch and take. We must be wise as serpents and harmless as doves. And that includes your language that you need to be tapped into. The Holy Spirit of God. Understanding what God is saying to you and through you. Or you having discerning of spirits as well, to be able to discern that the person who is interpreting or what you are saying, somebody else can discern whether what it is that you are interpreting is true or not, is saying or not. You know. And I'm not going to go on any further. But if any of you understand that little parable with the egg, I'm quite sure God going to give me the interpretation. But he had me to do this video real quick before, I get into understanding about the cracked egg. And I think I do have some understanding of it. But just leave a comment. Don't forget to like my video. Have a blessed and prosperous day.